freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 395 of Gun Freedom Radio, where we engage, we educate, and we inform. We are brought to you by azfirearmsauctions.com, where you set the price on guns, ammo, and accessories. I am one of your hosts, Cheryl Todd.
And I'm the other guy, Dan Todd. Our theme today is 2023 Celebrate and Protect the Second Amendment Rally. Our guest today is Tim Rafferty. Tim is the founding father, past president, and director of RidersUSA. For the last 20 years, Tim has been active regarding issues that impact the sovereignty of the United States, not the least of which is the Second Amendment.
Well, welcome to the show, Tim, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, Cheryl and Dan. Thank you for inviting me today.
Absolutely. You are the very first show of the year 2023, and I couldn't think of anybody I would rather have on because of so many reasons, but including the exciting rally that you and I and our teams get to work on every year. And that's why I've titled this show about the rally.
Okay.
So just real quick, touch on the rough edges of it, and then we'll dive in and then come back to it again later.
Well, hope all of your listeners, especially those that are in Arizona, can save the date, February the 18th, down at the Arizona State Capitol in Wesley Boland Plaza. Cheryl, like she mentioned, and RidersUSA will be hosting the 10th annual Celebrate and Protect the Second Amendment Rally. And we'll be getting into more of that later, but it's a fun event. It's for 4 hours with vendors, speakers, just all sorts of stuff to do. So it'll be a fun time. So save the date. It's February the 18th down at the Arizona State Capitol. We're going to have a fun time.
Absolutely. So,
he mentioned the 10th annual. And, Tim, I really think that this one is probably going to be the most important event that you've had because we've got a new sheriff in town, new governor, and I think that we need to make a clear message that we're here and our gun rights need to stay.
Absolutely.
That's true. I mean, every 4 years or so forth down here at the Capitol, you have the change of guard. And of course, every 2 years, you have the change of guard as far as the legislators. And it's unfortunate, but it needs to be done as we need to hold both the Republicans and Democrats down at the legislature. We need to hold their feet to the fire, especially in regards to the Second Amendment.
Right.
Absolutely. And that kind of is a perfect segue into having you talk to us about, what is RidersUSA? You're a founding father of it. There's some passion you have that drove that organization into being. So talk to us about that.
Well, RidersUSA was formed, I believe it was in 2007. And the reason that we formed it mainly was to address the illegal immigration problem that our country continued to have at that time. And of course, that was 16, 17 years ago. And everybody knows we're continuing to have that issue. And our name stands for Riders United for a Sovereign America. And again, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We're based mainly here in the Phoenix area. a lot of our members ride motorcycles, and that's where the riders comes from. But we also have a lot of members that don't ride and that still participate. And so that's really how Riders USA got started about, I think it was 2007.
Well, you have to feel a little like a fortune teller or a prophet, because as bad as the immigration issue was in 2007, I mean, it has exploded just in the last, let's say maybe 2 years, 3 years
Wait a
since
minute. That man says that there is no immigration problem.
since Joseph Biden has become the leader of this nation. It's insanity. And then if you watch certain news channels, they'll tell you, "Oh no, it's all good, right? There's no issue at our border." Yet we live in Arizona, which is a border state. And
Yes,
we feel it.
and
We see it.
it is getting worse by the day. But make no mistake, this goes all the way back to Ronald Reagan. He
Mhm.
made a humongous mistake back in 1986 about immigration. And we could talk about immigration on another show. I'd be more than glad to sit down and take the whole time to talk about immigration. But like I said, this immigration issue is a Republican and Democrat problem. They both own 50% of this problem.
I think that's very fair.
And
And
we feel it's a very key component to the United States sovereignty, and that's what Riders USA is all about.
absolutely, you can't be sovereign if you don't have borders, right? So, and that's the next excellent segue is kind of taking a dive into the word sovereignty. What does that word mean, and how
Well,
does it apply to the work you do?
I think your listeners need to understand one thing for sure, so that this doesn't get copied and misconstrued. But Riders USA does not agree, participate, or believe anything about the sovereign individual movement. There's a movement that has been going on for a long time where individuals think that they are sovereign, their body and their being, and they do not need to adhere to any laws or any laws, period, that they don't believe that they have to listen to. And we are not part of that. When we say Riders USA United for a Sovereign America, we're talking about America itself as a sovereign country. And I think that can be easiest explained as the United States does not need Canada. We don't need China. We don't need the Netherlands. We don't need Mexico telling us how to govern from within. And when you have these other countries influencing the governing of our country, it chips away at our sovereignty. And that's how we got involved with this, with the immigration. We know that we have millions and millions of illegal aliens, and illegal aliens is the correct terminology. We have millions of those folks in our country right now. And you know, your listeners know that those people are talking to legislators, our leaders, state, local, federal, and influencing how we govern inside our country. And that's chipping away at our sovereignty. And so that's where we got started. And the Second Amendment is so vital to our sovereignty. And we could talk about that for a long time, but I think your listeners will understand it better if you just say the Ukraine. The Ukraine is arming their people to keep their country sovereign. And so that's another reason why Riders USA is involved in the Second Amendment rally. We feel like it's another component of our country's sovereignty.
Absolutely. And I really appreciate that you made those distinctions. And even going back to, I'm throwing a jab at our current president, and you're taking it back to Ronald Reagan, whose voice, a speech that he gave is part of our opener. And so I think that to constantly go back and help people understand that the things that we talk about on this show they're universal. They're not party specific. This is not, these topics and these ideas have become political footballs, but they were not originally designed to be political in any way. Our Bill of Rights, right? That was for everyone, and it still is. But we do tend to, get very much in our little camps and our little, political ideation, and want to point fingers and say, well, it's all the other side's fault where we are, this mess we are in today. And I love that you specified that is not the case. It takes both sides to make a mess, right?
Yes, and that's another thing about Riders USA that we're proud of. We do not support, we do not endorse any political party, any political candidates. Our job is to hold everybody's feet to the fire, and that's one thing that we stray away from on all of our meetings and a lot of our activities and so forth, is to keep the politics out of it. Leave the person out of it. Let's address their policies. And that's what we try and do.
So it sounds to me like you endorse the United States Constitution.
Well, we think it's a nice document to read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's a pretty good roadmap, pretty good recipe book that our founders were able to write down.
Because we are finding that there are Republicans and Democrats that are messing our system up. It's not just the Democrats.
Yeah.
There's Republicans that are surprising. And even Ronald Reagan, he was a great president, but he sure had some issues. He's the one that banned machine guns for public use. And then what you're saying there, he messed up the immigration. So
absolutely. Yeah, no, I think you're exactly right. So coming back to, some of the projects that we touched on the rally, we're going to take a deeper dive later, but Riders USA is very involved in certain projects that you hit on the calendar pretty much annually, I believe. So talk to us about some of those.
Well, we have events that we do each year, but the projects, just to touch on some of the projects that Riders USA has worked on in the past, I think it was 2010 maybe, John Kerry was trying to bring the Law of the Sea Treaty up for ratification. For your listeners, the United States presidents, they're allowed to sign treaties, but the treaties are not enforced unless 2/3 of the Senate ratifies those treaties. My guess is we have 30, 40, 50 treaties our past presidents have signed that have not been ratified. And the last one we got involved with, of course, was the Law of the Sea Treaty. Real quickly on that had to do with the waters, the ocean waters in the United States boundaries that would have taken those boundaries pretty well up to our shoreline. And then anything that affected those waters would be under the jurisdiction of the UN. So that means if you've got a lake in California behind your 200-acre farm that you use for watering your livestock, and it rains a lot, and that overflows into a creek, and the creek goes into the river, and the river goes into the ocean, all of a sudden now your pond's under the jurisdiction of the UN. So we fought on that back, I believe it was 2007, in Prop 202. That was a project that we helped defeat here in Arizona. Currently, the law in Arizona right now of hiring employees is you need to use the E-Verify system. When that went into law, there was other groups, pro-illegal immigration groups, that tried to get that taken out of the law. I think Riders USA put in 4,600 miles on our motorcycles, traveling across the state, and we helped defeat that. I think everybody remembers the Gang of Eight amnesty bill with Jeff Flake and John McCain. We spearheaded an event with probably 40 different states, and we all did a press conference on the same day at the same time, bringing attention to that. So that was another project, and so those are some of the projects that we've worked on. As far as events that you were asking about, annually, and I'll see if I can do these sort of in order here. Annually, we do the Second Amendment Rally, which we're going to talk about here in just a little bit. And then for Memorial Day, we do what's called Flags for a Fallen, and we set up camp up at the Phoenix National Memorial Cemetery. That's on Cave Creek Road and Pinnacle Peak. And for the entire weekend, we fly 500 American flags. They're on 10-foot flagpoles, and we sort of make a big cross at that intersection leading into the cemetery. And each one of those flags has a ribbon on it, and that flag is sponsored by someone for one of their past veterans. Wow. And so that's really our signature event. We do that on Memorial Day. We do a Hawaiian luau for the veterans down at the Veterans Home. We're going to probably start that up again next year. The last couple of years, we haven't been able to do that because of COVID. And how that all started is we used to go down there at Christmas and throw the veterans a little Christmas party, but the place was just packed all Christmas holiday season with everybody doing stuff for the vets. And when we talked to some of the people down there, they said, in the summertime, it's like a ghost town. Nobody even thinks about these vets. We said, hey, we'll give them a party in the summertime. So we switched from Christmas, and we bring in some Hawaiian dancers and serve them all sorts of good things to eat. And we have a good time down there at the Vets Home. We have a 1 mile stretch of highway going to Flagstaff, on the way to Flagstaff. I think that's I-17 for the Adopt a Highway program. And we keep that highway, or we try and keep that highway clean. That is, if you've ever had an opportunity to work on one of those duties, it is so interesting to see what you find on the side of the road. You could do a whole show on that. And then, of course, we do a lot of other events for veterans, Veterans Day parades. We work on that. And then we have a Veterans Day fund where we make donations every year to various different veterans causes.
Wow, that is amazing. And such worthy work, worthy causes. And I can see why you have such an engaged membership, because these things, you turn the page, it's another month, there's another whole reason to be involved. And I think that that's really impactful.
There's never a dull moment, that's for sure.
So before we get on to the rally, how does a person join Riders USA?
If you want to join Riders USA, you go to our website, and it's RidersUSA.net. That's RidersUSA.net. And there's a segment in there that says membership. You can click on that. You'll fill out the form, and then that'll go to our membership committee, and they will give you a call, and they will vet you and so forth, and tell you a little bit about Riders USA. And if it's a mutual agreement between both parties, then you have to go into your bank account and pull out a lot of money for the dues. I think the dues are $3 a month.
Wow.
So that's how it is. And it's pretty simple.
So Tim, what do you do if the wife won't let you ride a motorcycle? Can you still join?
Yes, you have to have a motorcycle. No, we have a lot of members that do not ride, and they make up a big portion of our group. And so when we do go to events and so forth, if it's motorcycle related, a lot of those vehicles will follow us and still go attend to the events. We travel on our motorcycles a lot of times to different events I won't call them political events, but events that are near and dear to our heart that other people are having. And so, like I said, we ride motorcycles to it, and a lot of people take their cages. The motorcycle people, if you're not riding a bike and you're going to take a car or a truck, we call that a cage.
Cage.
So a lot of our members bring their cages.
That's great.
Well, my wife said I could have a motorcycle, but she hasn't found one that has training wheels on it. So
That's not funny, because I tell you, we have some members that have the three wheelers, and
The
myself,
trikes?
I know that it's getting a little bit more difficult each year to keep that 800-pound bike balanced.
Yeah, no doubt. Oh my goodness. There's some beautiful ones out there. I just,
Oh, they
I don't
are.
know. I kind of like him to have a cage around him, not like to keep him in, but to keep him safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did I clean that up?
Sure, I think so.
Anyway. All right. And so now let us dive into this rally. And I will say that it is the 10th anniversary,
Yes.
but this is a Riders USA baby. This is something you guys put together, and then I don't remember how many years Danny and I and our team have been blessed to be involved, but it was such a wonderful, an amazing invitation that we received from Riders USA to come on board and just kind of lend our gifts and talents to the effort. And so I think that, maybe we've been involved 5 years or so. What do you
Yes, I
think
think
about
so.
that? And so for us to get to celebrate the 10th anniversary, I don't know if it's sweeter for us because you guys started such an amazing annual event, or if it's sweeter for you to see that, it has really survived for a decade, grown over a decade. Because as business owners, we know that just because you have a passion and you give birth to this wonderful idea, it doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna continue and take off. So
I think
talk.
the key word that I heard you say is survive, because they say all good things come to an end at some time, and this event has survived over the years. And but I don't think Riders USA can take credit for starting the 2A rally in Arizona per se. 10 years ago, the years previous to that, was an era that there was a lot of talk from the federal government and different states of taking your guns. And there were times down at the state capitol, back when we started this and previous to that, there might be 3, 4, 5 different rallies from different organizations down there. And I mean, it was just packed down at the state capitol for a couple of years of just tons of people at different events saying, no, you're not going to take our guns. I think our first event that we sponsored was in 2014, and I think the title of it was Stand Your Ground, and so forth. But it's a challenge to make these events an annual event when you're talking about this type of topic. If it was a fishing topic or riding motorcycles or a golf tournament or something like that, you pretty well know that those they just continue to grow on their own. When you talk about a subject here like the Second Amendment, you've got your peaks and your valleys. You've got the times where nobody's introducing bills about taking our guns or restricting our rights. And then you've got other years where there's a plethora of bills and a plethora of people wanting to do that type of bad work. And the people that get involved, or the people that have a passion for this and understand the importance of speaking up, sometimes they just come out of the woodwork like you wouldn't believe it, just tons of people. And then other events, they're just non-existent. And I want to give credit to you, Cheryl and Dan. Riders USA, our events, probably before you started, were in that low valley area where our attendance was not that big. It was starting to go in a downward motion. And when I spoke to our good friend, rest in peace, Dave Kopp, and I said, Dave, and Dave's with the AZCDL. I said, Dave, this, and Dave and AZCDL has been with us since day one of our rallies. I said, Dave, we got an issue here. We got to figure out a way to make this event bigger and get more people educated. And Riders USA is having trouble getting speakers in here and getting attendance. And it was the shortest phone call. He said, I'll give you Cheryl Todd's phone number. Give her a call. She'll take care of it. And lo and behold, she gave it to you, made a call to you and Kim. We met at the gun show down at the
Fairgrounds.
Coliseum, the fairgrounds, right. And since you've come aboard, you brought in just an enormous amount of different types of speakers from all over the country. And I think that has helped this event really grow. Without your help, I'm not for sure if this thing would have sustained for 10 years. So Riders USA wants to thank you and Dan and Kim for your help, because a lot of people do not understand the amount of work, the amount of stress that goes into putting these types of events together. But at the end of the day, it's like, oh, wow, this was all worth it.
Oh,
Well,
it's
you said
wonderful.
it's a once a year event, and it's really not. It's an all year event. So
Mhm.
Cheryl and Kim and you work on it all year long, pieces and pieces of it. So it is a continuous thing.
It is. And I do want to say Kim Bishop, who is our PR and marketing specialist, and my cousin. So we do have a wonderful time working together. And then when we get to, focus some of our creative energies towards something like this rally, it's really just fun. Now, there is that stress factor because it's an outdoor event, and are we already doing the hourly watch on the weather, or do we have a little bit of time before we start doing that?
I think we've got 32 days before the event. So I was thinking about the other day, should I look at that? And I said, no, I'll give it another week or two.
I know, because we cannot control that. As much as I would have tried every way I can, God has not given up control of the weather, but it's always perfect. It's always beautiful. And it is this family friendly, it's a festival style day. We have vendors, we have food, we have we have music, and every year we're trying to lean more and more into finding sort of a music section or a musical group. But it is just the most fun day. People that have it in their head that, oh, those gun owners, they're just a bunch of angry people. Come on out, take a look. We're having a blast out there. We are celebrating and protecting our rights, but definitely celebrating.
Right. And I think your listeners really need to understand what you just said there, because when these events started 10, 12 years ago down at the state capitol, it was a defensive, angry type of events where people were puffing their chests and say, come take it. And, we're not going to let them do this and so forth. And it was just a confrontational type of event where it's us versus them and so forth. And again, thanks to you and Kim, we've changed that to celebrate and then protect. And this truly is a fun event. We've got a junior Patriot Park where our friends at Great State Alliance and Tipping Point Academy, they set up their booths and set up all sorts of games for the kids. And that's so important, I think, as far as the Second Amendment goes, and actually a lot of other things, but we're on the Second Amendment, is that children are exposed just to the visual, the minimum of visual of a gun, and being able to accept that the gun is not harmful, right? You know, so many parents are afraid to have their children around guns or anything like that, either from a political standpoint or the parents actually are afraid of the guns. And if we can get these generation of kids growing up now getting acclimated that, hey, look, we had fun over here, and this guy painted my face, and he had a gun on his. He wasn't doing anything with that. I think that's instrumental going forward, as far as keeping the Second Amendment intact that we have. And the event, it's a lot of fun. You'll see just a little bit of everybody down here at the rally, and it's an open carry event because we live in the great state of Arizona, and you'll see all sorts of firearms and so forth. We do not sell any firearms down there, but yeah, it is a fun event to go down there and talk to like-minded individuals.
Absolutely.
And we've got thousands of people there, and not one issue.
Yeah, nobody even breaks a nail. Like, it's the safest place, I believe, in the state during that.
Yeah, we've never had any issue down there. We work with the Arizona Capitol Police. They're a division of the state police, and we have a very, very good rapport with them. The city of Phoenix, their police department, a very good rapport with them, and so yeah, it's a fun event.
Yeah, the DPS was there, and they interact with the crowd. I mean, they have conversations with them, and it's like everybody's together.
It is a community building event for sure. Right. So you mentioned one of our sponsors, and that Junior Patriot Park. That is just a brilliant addition, because, you know, if we aren't engaging the next generation, what are we doing with our lives, right? Because we are going to hand the baton off sooner than we'd like to think. Right. To that generation. But talk to us about some of our other sponsors.
Our platinum sponsor for the second year in a row is MMP Guns in Phoenix. They are a great group of folks. Brian and Chris and the folks down there. Ursula, one of our speakers, I believe, works down there. And they've been on board for these 2 years. And we just really can't thank them enough for their support. They also acquire the guns. We have 3 firearms that we raffle off. And that's our main fundraising mechanism for this event. But yeah, MMP Guns down there on Indian School in Phoenix. Drop by and see them. They've got a fabulous shop. As soon as you walk into the door, I think there's a 10-foot grizzly bear that will greet you, stuffed grizzly bear. And then this year, our gold sponsor is going to be RME Gold from Phoenix, Jim Clark. And so we're so glad to have them on board for this first year. And Jim will be speaking, is one of our speakers, and Brian Vaughn from MMP is another one of our speakers. And then we have all of our vendors. We call our vendors Patriot sponsors. We have an awful lot of vendors that come down here. And we have a group, if I can find them here, because I don't want to miss it. If I can find it right here, excuse me. Do that again there. I don't want to miss them. We have what we call our annual foundational sponsors. These are a group of organizations and companies that have been with us for a long time, and they support us, and they're really the foundation as far as vendors and sponsors. And of course, the first one is the Arizona Citizens Defense League. We have the Firearms Coalition, Second Amendment Foundation, Allen, College Republicans United, they're at the colleges. Great State Alliance, I've already talked about them. David with Dynamic Combative Solutions. He has a fantastic booth set up. I think this year he's going to also do faster. What is it?
Saves
Faster.
lives.
Yes. Pot of Gold Auctions, of course, that you're familiar with. They help us an awful lot with our marketing and our flyers and a lot of our graphics. So without that, a lot of this stuff that we print out and everything would not look near as good, but we thank them. And then Patriot Printing and Promo, they do our rally t-shirts for us, and they've been with us for a while. So they're our foundational sponsors, but a lot of the other vendors, they sponsor this. We feel as though they're sponsors too, because without them, the participation probably would not be near as high, because everybody likes to hear people speak, but they also like to go around and spend their money and buy Second Amendment related items.
Oh, we love shopping.
Yes.
Absolutely. And some yummy snacks.
Yeah,
and
there's a lot
food.
of food there.
Absolutely. Great food. So you mentioned the Firearms Coalition. That is Jeff Knox,
Jeff
who
Knox.
is our co-MC. So every year I have the incredible honor of emceeing, and I tagged Jeff Knox to co-MC with me. His dad, of course, was Neil Knox, who's legendary in the Second Amendment movement. So Jeff and his brother Chris come out, and I think Chris runs the booth and sells the books, and Jeff is up on stage helping me wrangle all the speakers.
Yeah, and Jeff, I tell you, he jumps right in there. I remember that first year when he started getting involved. He got out on the microphone before anything started. He said, "Folks, you can't hear us, so you get up here, right up here by this stage." Man, he brought everybody in. I mean, he got them going.
He is wonderful. I'm so blessed to know him. So one of our speakers that is such a crowd pleaser every year is coming back, Sheriff Mark Lamb. I'm always so tickled that he's so accessible. You know, it's like I barely send the text and he says, "Yes, I'll be there." Last year he had a conflict on his calendar, but and we have some of our new state representatives. We have Austin Smith, who is actually our representative out here in the West Valley.
Austin, people will love Austin. He just, I mean, you talk about energy.
Yes.
Wait till I cannot wait to hear his speech. Last time he spoke, he had a broken arm, but that didn't stop him a bit. I mean, he pumps the crowd up.
He so does. And we have scheduled, and you never know with an elected official, especially one from DC, sometimes their schedules get in the way, but Andy Biggs, our Congressman Andy Biggs, he said yes, like immediately when we asked him, because he understands the importance of this whole topic and bringing people together. And so we're excited that he's going to be out there. Knife Rights, Sue Ritter. You mentioned AZCDL a couple of times. And the fact that the person who brought us together and really introduced us is our dear and amazing late friend, Dave Kopp, who passed away last year. And so the AZCDL is going to play a big part in this, in that we've decided to dedicate the entire event to the memory of Dave Kopp.
Yes, we have. People don't know, when you talk about hard work, Cheryl, you and Dan do an awful lot of work. RidersUSA does a little bit of work. Somebody else does a little bit and everything. But Dave, he was down there working with the legislature, because that's where it all happens.
Mm-hmm.
And he was down there working with them tirelessly. You would see, I've seen him down there at the state capitol when we used to be down there on immigration issues. He was down there on the Second Amendment issues and everything. And so, yeah, it's with heavy heart that we have to have this event without him. And our condolences go out to his family and to the AZCDL family itself too.
Thank you. I so appreciate that. And I mean, he really was a tireless worker. So when Dave had cancer, and when he was, we didn't realize it was his last days, but he was in the hospital for an extended stay.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would go down and visit him in the hospital. And one of the last times I sat with him, I mean, we talked for 3 hours straight about policy, about laws, about the personalities involved and how to work effectively with them. And, then when I realized that it was one of my last conversations with him, uh, I just appreciate and respect him even more, that, where so many other people would just be like, no, I need to rest, or, I've already handed the baton off. I've become the vice president of the organization. Michael Gibbs had stepped into the president role, and Dave Kopp had become our president emeritus. He could have easily said, yeah, I'm kind of retired from this now. I'm kind of on the sidelines. No, he was right in there. It was a true passion of his. And I can't imagine a better mentor for me to, I do a lot of this messaging, but then to go into the Capitol and do that kind of work is a bit different. And he was wonderful to
Yeah, it'll
throw me
be
up into it.
it'll be a little bit of sadness at the event. In addition to Dave, two other speakers that are no longer with us. One is Dr. Lance Hurley with the
Founding Fathers.
Founding Fathers, that's right, Founding Fathers. Lance was with us and has been with us every year. He was with our original one at 2014, and he passed away late 2022. And then Russell Pierce, the past Arizona State Senator and a RidersUSA member, he just passed away recently. So there are 3 people that have been involved with this Second Amendment rally for an awful long time that are no longer with us. And again, that portion of our event this year will be a solemn one.
It will. We'll definitely, we'll have a moment of silence, and I'm sure lots of memories being passed around in the audience about our dear friends. But what an amazing time that we're going to have, and to bring people together and build the community and encourage one another that the Bill of Rights still matters. It's still there. It's still serving its purpose. And, we are.
If I can, Cheryl, just real quick, 3 other speakers that get me excited. One is Deb Ferns.
Yes.
Deb Ferns can pump up a crowd. You will really enjoy her. Ursula Williams, I think she's, like I said, she works at MMP Guns. I mean, she's a fire and brimstone. I mean, she really gets the crowd going. And then we don't want to forget about AWR Harkins. He's going to be there again, and he has an awful lot of information to share. And then Alan Gottlieb with the Second Amendment Foundation. Alan, if you're listening, thank you so much. You've been a part of this for a long time, coming all the way out from Seattle. We appreciate you joining us each year.
Absolutely. And I encourage everybody to go to the website So it's actually 2arallyaz.com, and just look at the lineup of speakers. We actually have a couple to add, a couple of people that we haven't put on there yet, one of which is Mark Walters of Armed American Radio. He is become, over the last couple of years, like, he wants to be involved every single year, and he flies out. So it's, this has become a nationwide event, even though we get to host it here in Arizona. But we do need to start wrapping up. So Tim, can you just tell folks any last thoughts you have, and how they can, get more involved in the things that you are involved in?
Well, again, if you're interested in getting involved in a plethora of events put on around here at the Valley, some of them veterans, some of them Second Amendment rally and so forth, you can go to RidersUSA.net and fill out a membership form, and then somebody will contact you, and you can visit with them and see if RidersUSA might be a good fit. You do not need to ride motorcycles. And as far as the Second Amendment rally, we just, if you could just pencil it in on your calendars. We know not everybody can make it, but it's February the 18th down at the Arizona State Capitol. The event starts at 10 o'clock and it runs for 4 hours until 2 o'clock. We're going to have 40, 50 vendors down there. We're going to have food trucks, a kids park. I don't know how many speakers we have, 20, 25, 26 speakers. There's a big grassy area there for everybody to relax on. Bring a lawn chair to listen to the speakers. And again, it's a fun event. It's a celebration. Think 4th of July type of event is what this event is. And want to thank Cheryl and Dan for including RidersUSA on your show here. And we appreciate everything that you folks do.
Tim, thank you for everything you do. I mean, this wouldn't happen without you. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. God bless. And I will see you at the state capitol on
I'll see you probably before that.
That's probably true. Yes.
Take care. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Tim. Oh, man.
What an event. It's so fun. And you know what? There's every type of person there. From kids to 90-year-olds to every type. And it's surprisingly, you know, I mean, there's people that have guns that don't really talk about guns.
It's true.
That show up at the event.
As far as the audience goes, the attendees, it is an actual cross section of Americana.
Yep.
Really. In Arizona. One of our speakers is actually the president of the Liberal Gun Club. Like, do we even know that there's such a thing called the Liberal Gun Club? And the president will be one of our speakers. And I think that's so important as a message in itself, that the Second Amendment is not a conservative or a Republican. You know, it's kind of become that way. But truly, when you talk about your neighbors, you know, politically, you know, the people in office and the big mouthpieces, they like this division. But your neighbors who are, they might, be a registered Democrat, they might be very liberal leaning in a lot of their ideas, they still value the Second Amendment and their right to keep and bear arms. So I think that's really wonderful as well. Okay, we have got to wrap up and get out of here.
You're the one talking.
I know. It's so exciting. I'm excited. We've got a new year. We've got a ton of brand new guests lined up for this year that we've never had on before. So that always excites me because
And we have a new House Speaker too.
And we do have a new House Speaker.
It's weird.
Kevin McCarthy.
Who is this Nancy Pelosi anyway? Where'd she go?
I don't know, but
yay!
That was an interesting thing to watch. Which
yes,
we'll have to dive into it another time. But speaking of Congressman Andy Biggs here from Arizona, he was one of those 20 people who were saying, we're not going to just go with the status quo. Just because Kevin McCarthy and the machinery there thinks that he is the heir apparent, that's not how it works.
No, it's not.
And I was very proud of the stance that this small contingency, and that's always what it comes down to. A small contingency or a single person taking a strong stand, having a backbone, and really causing some significant changes in the world. So anyway, thanks so much to our awesome guest, Tim Rafferty. Thank you for all you do, Tim. Thank you to our amazing listeners all over the planet. Yep. Right, Dan? Wherever there is internet, we have listeners. And the fact that you tune in and make us part of your day, your time is your most valuable commodity and most finite commodity. And when you spend it with us, we notice it. It matters. And thank you. Until next time, what are we going to do, Dan?
We're going to pray for our nation.
We are.
Pray for our leaders.
Yep.
Even the ones that you don't like, Cheryl.
Really? Those two?
Yeah. Yep.
Probably especially those ones.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Have a great week. Be good to each other. And God bless.
Bye-bye.